Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, let's look at how we can leverage AI to change the voice in a speech file. For that, we need to install RVC and then we need to have an input file. We also need to have a sample of output file. Then we will look at how we can create a model using RVC, and then we will play around with some settings and see which one best works for our use case. Then we will look at how we can use the RVC model that we just created and convert the speech, and then we will look at some settings for that. Let's look at how we can install RVC in our local. Click on the link provided in the description below. That will redirect us to a Hugging Face repository. Scroll down and find RVC Beta 7z and download the file. Once the download is done, use WinRAR or 7zip or any of the softwares to extract the compressed file and place it in your desired location. When the extraction is done, go to the folder and find go-web.bat file. Double click on this. This will start the RVC in your local. Next, we need to have an audio input file to our RVC that we'll be using to change it to a different speech. This is our input file.
Upon their return, Oliver listened to their accounts and made a surprising declaration. He said, "Both of you have done commendable deeds." However,
Next, we need to have a sample audio file that we'll be using to train our RVC model. This is our sample file.
Wreck, and she's split apart so her cargo can be got out easy. There's gold a lying there for the picking up, lads. His voice grew hoarse with eagerness.
Just make sure this file is at least 10 minutes long so that we'll have a larger sample to train our model. Let's look at how we can train our RVC model. In the UI, go to train. Here you can give the experiment name. I will just give a name. Make sure you have selected version 2, and next we need to provide the training folder, so it can be anywhere. I usually create a folder inside the repository itself. I'll give the same name, and I will just copy the sample file that we will use for training and place it there. So the location is here, and I will just provide the path there, and make sure you have the GPU selected, and then make sure it's on harvest, and then you can play around with this, but I will make sure every 100 epochs and every 300 training steps, and save only the latest file, and just click on one click training. This will usually take some time, so just wait there. You can follow the training either in the command prompt or on the output location here. Once the training is done, it should say something like saving the final CKPT file success. So now our model has been trained with the sample audio we provided, and it's ready to use. let's look at some of the settings that we can play around while training a model. So in training model, we can play around with the training epochs, we can play around with the batch size, and we can also play around with the save frequency and see whichever one that is giving us the best output and use that. Next, let's look at how we can use the train model to change the voice. Now let's look at how we can use our train model to modify an existing file's voice. First, click on refresh voice list and index path. That will update both index path and voice. Once we click on the drop down, we will be able to see the newly trained model. Select that. Next, for now we'll keep the transpose as it is. Provide the input file path that we want to change the audio of, and then also make sure we select the index file path correctly. Make sure we select harvest and click on convert. So this will start working and it will take some time for the model to convert the audio. Let's just wait for that. Okay, the audio is now ready. Before we hear the final output, let's hear what our input is.
Oliver listened to their accounts and made a surprising declaration.
Now let's listen to our model voice that we trained on.
Fast in the coral. I felt around a bit, lads, and I seen a box there. It's right.
Now let's hear the output.
Upon their return, Oliver listened to their accounts and made a surprising declaration. He said, "Both of you have done commendable deeds. However, the golden apple goes to neither of you."
Let's hear the sample output one more time.
Rotten it is, and it's full of
It's
gold.
very close. It's
When
as it
Tom and
is
Jerry
right.
asked for an
So
explanation,
yeah, so we can play around with more settings, but that's the conversion part. Next, let's look at what settings that we can play around. We can try different pitch extraction algorithms. We can modify the feature ratio. We can play around with these parameters and see which one provides the desired output.